So on behalf of Joan Gelbman's family, there's a lot of appreciation and thanks to all the people who braved one of the coldest days we've had in many years to be here to celebrate the life of a very special person. And no one is expected to make this sacrifice, but it seems like it makes a lot of sense for a person who herself was very kind and very giving and would always go out of her way to take care of people, that we also went out of our way in coming out in these circumstances. So all of us here today as friends and family of our most beloved Joan E. Gelbman. She was a good lady in so many different ways, quiet in some ways and not quiet in some other ways. A person who just had a big heart, was very giving and loving and caring. And she took her role as wife and mother and friend very, very seriously. And she gave a lot of attention and time and energy to that. She was a person who very much loved Israel, and she loved the Jewish people, and she went all out on those regards. She had a lot of faith and love in America and in politics, and she always knew what was going on. And that was very important to her. And a lot of people came to her for her advice and for her wisdom. So we want her to know that we really got a sense of who she was. We know throughout her life how much giving she did to the rest of us. So after some of the prayers, we will share more. We'll share a lot of the stories of her life. And I'm especially appreciative to her family, to her son Michael, who came all the way from California, to Evelyn, who's local, for sharing with me about her life, of who she was. And I knew her in the nursing home a little bit, but as we know, in a nursing home, when a person, is older and not them full selves, you don't really know the whole story. And it was amazing for me to hear about what an amazing woman that she was. And of course, her sister Sheila, who's present here with a lot of her family, she gave me as well a lot of insights into who Joan was. So this service really is, for these guys. Normally we would love it if the children and the family could share, but it's just such a hard time. So typically the rabbi speaks to the kids, to the family, gets the stories, and it's my honor to be able to share with you guys today. So we start with a selection from the Psalms, the customary 23rd Psalm. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo eksar, binais deshech yarbitzeni, almei menuchos yanachaleni, nafshi yeshovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo, gam ki elech begeit salmavis, lo irara ki ata imadi, shiftecha umishantecha, hema yanachamuni, tairach lefanai shulchan, negid sarai, Tishante v'shem roshi, kosi revaya, achtov v'chesed yirdefuni, kol yemei chayai, v'shavte v'beis adinoi, la'orech yamim. A Psalm of David. God is my shepherd, I shall not lack. In lush meadows he lays me down, beside tranquil waters he leads me. He restores my soul. He leads me on paths of justice for his name's sake. Though I walk in the valley overshadowed by death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the view of my tormentors. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for many long days. It's also the Jewish custom to read what is known as the Eshet Chayil, the woman of valor. It's a selection from the Proverbs, and it goes in the order of the alphabet, the Aleph Bet, and lists all of the beautiful virtues of this woman of valor. Eishes chayil miyimsa v'rachok mipnei nehi michra batach ba'lev bala v'shalo yoyeksar gemal sutoi v'loira kol yemei chayecha darshet semer ufishtim v'tas b'chapetz kapecha haisa keni yaisaicher mimerchak tavi lachma Bitakam biyahai laila, bditin teref, lavesa rachaik nairosacha, zamamasa devatika chechu, mi pricha pekanato karem, hagra biyais masnecha, bitame tzoyesecha, tama ki toiv sakra, lo yechbe belaila, neira yadecha, shilcha v'kishar, bikapecha famchu falem, kappa parsa liani, Ve'yadecha shilcha li'evyon li'sira mi'beisa mishaleg ki kol beisa levushanim marvadi masasala sheish vargaman levusha noida b'sharim bala b'shifto ihim ziknei haaretz sadi masasa v'timkor V'hagnu nasad kanani, oiz v'hadar levusha, b'tischak l'yayim acharoin, picha pascha v'hachma, v'sayras chesed al yishayna, Sophia halicha ispeisa, v'lechem atus l'sochel, kamu v'necha v'yashura, Bahala, Vayehala, Rabos Panasil Chayil, Viatali Sakulana, Sheker Achein, Vehevel Ayofi, Isha Yiras Adonai, His Halel Tenula, Mipri Yadecha, Vihalelucha, Vishari Masecha. In some households, by the Shabbos table, the Friday night table, it's a custom for the husband and the children to sing that towards the mother or the spouse, extolling her special virtues. So that's why I should be able to sing it a little bit better than other songs. But the basic verses that it shares, we will take, some of them. An accomplished woman who can find far beyond pearls is her value. Her husband's heart relies on her, and he shall lack no fortune. She repays his good, but never his harm, all the days of her life. She seeks out wool and linen, and her hands work willingly. She is like a merchant's ship, for from afar she brings her sustenance from her family. With strength she girds her loins, and invigorates her arms. Her hand she stretches out to the distaff, and her palms support the spindle. She spreads out her palm to the poor, and extends her hands to the destitute. She fears not snow, for her entire household, is clothed in wool. She makes a cloak to sell, and delivers a belt to the peddler. Strength and majesty are her raiment. She joyfully awaits the last day. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and a lesson of kindness is on her tongue. She anticipates the ways of her household, and participates not in the bread of laziness. Her children arise and praise her. Her husband lauds her. Many have amassed achievement, but you have surpassed them all. False is grace and vain is beauty. A God-fearing woman, she should be praised. Give her the fruits of her hands, and let her be praised in the gates by her very own deeds. Joan E. Gelbman is mourned by her children, as mentioned, Evelyn and Michael, her dear sister Sheila, and her extended family. She has two younger siblings who unfortunately were not able to be here because of complicated circumstances, but we acknowledge her brother Terry, who lives in New Mexico, and Ron, who lives in Colorado. She was a much beloved aunt, and she will dearly be missed by her nieces and nephews. Some came from local, some came from Cincinnati and other parts. She's also missed at Montefiore, a very much well-liked resident. Will be missed by her staff and her table mates, and many of her friends in this community who came out today will certainly miss her, as well as people in the library, people in politics, people at the Technion. Many people will miss her. She was the daughter of Harry and Charlotte Lasky, the oldest of 4 children. But in some ways, it wouldn't be right to say that she was the oldest of 4 kids in a family of 6 people. It was really, in the very beginning, much larger than that, a family of a whole lot more, because it was really one family unit with her aunt and her uncle and the 3 cousins, all very close by. All the 7 kids growing up closely together in approximately the same years. And first, all these people squished into a house in Eddy Road neighborhood, and then they moved on to the Shaker Heights neighborhood to go to Winslow Road. And I was just curious myself, where is this Winslow Road? I'd never heard of it before, and I just did a little Google search, and it said that it's a very special street because it's a historical district today, but also, interesting coincidence, it's the only street in Shaker Heights that only has double family or dual family, twin, whatever you call it. It's a dual family home. And so obviously that's why they went to Winslow Road, because this was a true dual family who needed the lower house, the upper house, and we'll see they also needed the upper because that's where grandma stayed. All these generations under one roof. So that was particularly remarkable. And I think that for a kid today, you can't imagine what a great thing that would be. What a treasure having your aunt and your uncle and your grandparents all under the same roof. And so as a result of all these people under one roof, it was a very happy childhood for her. Very loving parents, surrounded by good and caring people. And they had time for vacations when they could afford it. And they made sure that it paid off. Once a year they would go to the East Coast. And they would keep it kind of simple, some parks, some bed and breakfasts, But they made sure that over many years, they were able to see a lot of the East Coast by going to different spots at different years during their one trips per year. They had just had lots of simple fun together, lots of stories, lots of playing games. And that, their memories that they have as a kid, that she had as a kid, are not these grand, giant things, but just simple things, like the time that they went to sleep on the porch on a summer day, and they woke up all loaded up with mosquito bites. Things like that, simple, but things that you will never forget. She graduated from Shaker Heights High School, and then she went on to OU, and then to Fenn College, and she worked for a while. And she was always a very good girl, very studious and followed all the rules. She did well in school, and of course, she loved books. That was one thing. I think everyone I talked to, they all mentioned the same thing, that she was a truly bookish person. She loved reading all the time. But like I said before, she was a quiet person, but not always quiet, because she was very opinionated. She often felt very strongly about certain political issues. She met her husband, Alan, of blessed memory, who passed away a few years ago, at a JCC singles dance. And it was kind of funny that they were both a little bit older singles. She was 29, and he was 27. And in those days, they had two divisions, that if you were 29 and under, and if you were 29 and above. But it was like oil and water. You couldn't mix, couldn't go to either one. But for some reason, who knows why, Dad decided that he wanted to sneak into the upper one. Maybe he felt it was a little more mature and he deserved to be in the upper group. But 27-year-old Alan snuck into the 29 and above group, and that's where he met Joan, and the rest was history. And it kind of worked out nicely because he was a lawyer and he'd already been through school, and he was also very much into politics. And she was not only into politics, but she was very liberal. She was a very deep liberal person, and so was he, and that was a very, very important match for the both of them. They also both had a strong Jewish connection, and they both attended different Jewish synagogues over the years. And they often went to different ones, experiencing different experiences, going to Shari Tikva, going to Mayfield Hillcrest Synagogue, Park Synagogue, and wherever they went, all these synagogues, they didn't just show up at the services, but they were very involved, whether it was a synagogue or helping in the office. A close friend said that it was many, many years that she gave to helping out at the Hillcrest Mayfield Synagogue. But her main avoda, her main job, was raising her children, making sure that just like she was, that they would do their homework, and they would be good children like she was. She sent them to Hebrew school, and she made sure that they had a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah with lots of celebration. And it sounded like that was one of the biggest parties that the family ever threw, it was Michael and Evelyn's bar and bat mitzvahs. And the thing about her is that sometimes she had to be the disciplinarian. She had to put down the law with the kids, but she wasn't that good at it. That a lot of times she would have a change of heart, that maybe she shouldn't be so strict. Or sometimes she would say, well, I can't punish you, but wait till your father comes home. And sometimes she'd remember when he came home, but I suppose sometimes she'd forget to mention it to him when he came home. I don't know. Sometimes she hid the evidence, and sometimes she showed the evidence to Dad. But he took care of the punishment part. As we said over and over again, she was a very politically interested person, and she believed very strongly about Israel. And a lot of people believe in Israel, but a lot of people don't take the time to learn the whole history and to really understand, why Israel is important and why it exists and, the legitimacy of everything it does. Sometimes people are too easily swayed by the negative voices, and they don't know enough themselves to understand her history. But not her. She was an expert on every matter of Jewish history, especially about the foundation of the state of Israel. And it wasn't just like in her little study where she did this, but she felt the world should know. So she wrote a series of columns or letters to the editor, I believe, in both the Cleveland Jewish News and in the Plain Dealer. And these columns attracted a lot of interest. And she had a lot of people who read them and agreed, but she unfortunately had people who did not agree with her. And there were plenty of situations where people wrote back to the paper saying she was totally wrong. And there were times when she got hateful letters in the mail from people who were so angry at the strong protective stance that she had taken towards Israel. But it wasn't just Israel that she cared a lot about. She cared a lot about the political process in the United States. And she believed that if you had a right to vote, you better use it, because it's your God-given right. And so she would go down to the ceremonies where people were sworn in as new immigrants to the United States. And the first thing that they would do, as soon as they became American citizens, was they would go up to Joan and sign up and be registered to vote in this country. She was very big about that. She also believed not only in reading books, but making sure that other people read books. And so she was a lifelong trustee of the Friends of the Library of Mayfield Heights. And like I said before, she was a very big active sisterhood member in different synagogues. And she was not only busy with her own kids, who she loved so dearly, but she loved the nieces and nephews. And thanks to Sheila and her family for producing lots of them, she liked that very much. So I think she had a total of 12 grandkids. 12. You had 12 grandchildren, right? Or you and your 12 grandchildren. Yeah. So as we say in Yiddish, bli ayin hara, it's a very beautiful number. And so all of these 12 grandkids, she would make sure to attend to. And I guess by the time we got to 7, 8, 9, 10, Sheila would say to her, enough, don't worry about the presents. You don't have to keep remembering this one's birthday or this one's whatever, And she said, no, I'm not going to stop. So 12 grandkids and going, she still kept up with the presents. And one of her favorite things that her kids said to me was that she loved to go shopping for presents for other people. The trips to the toy stores, buying just the right gift for the nieces and nephews was, one of the most precious things she could ever do. And what's funny was that when you would go to her and you would ask her, a question, she wouldn't always tell you the answer. For example, her son would ask her how something works or how you do something, and maybe she knew perfectly, but she would say, Michael, go to the library, go look it up. And so he would have to go to the library and look it up. And sometimes she was very creative. And, Evelyn was telling me that, even though she is bookish also, we shouldn't, say anything negative about Evelyn, but she did like to watch TV once in a while. And perhaps in Joan's world, this wasn't the greatest news. And so when she felt that Evelyn was watching too much TV, she said she should go to the library and read Fahrenheit 451. So I'm not such a bookish person, so I had to ask Evelyn, what's the significance of you should go read Fahrenheit 451? And that was a book apparently about how, people were brainwashed through television. Yeah.
They were ruled through the TV.
They what?
And they were burning all the books.
Oh, okay. So she wanted to warn you of the dangers of the television, so you should go read a book to remind yourself to do so. But with all these things that she did, raising her kids and buying the gifts and helping and supporting political, you would think that she was a lady who had just the perfect health, that she had lots of energy and strength. But the fact is she didn't. As a child, she had a lot of health issues. As an adult, she had plenty. She had falls. She had a lot of pain in her neck and her back. And the kids would say that every time they went shopping, that mom would have to sit down 2 or 3 times just because she could not do all the walking. But this did not stop her. And in fact, that Sheila told me that about 10 years ago, she got really, really sick. She spent, months and months in the nursing home, weeks in the hospital, got very, very sick to the point that maybe, with some people, that would have been the end. But then after thinking about it a little bit and, and thinking, wow, I can't give up right now. My family needs me. My children, the nieces and nephews, my sister, my brother, I can't just throw in the towel. And she fought back. And she came back from a terrible, terrible illness more than 10 years ago to give life another go, a lot more years of health and good things. So she got to go to Israel in the end, the country that she loved so much. She promoted very much through Hadassah, her involvement in Hadassah, supporting Technion, and so many, many things. And one of the things was, as much as she loved Israel, she didn't just think about the Jewish people. Her dream was that everyone would understand each other. And she was a big advocate in interfaith dialogue. And she was the one who would go to the churches and the mosques and even the Sikh temples to promote understanding from one culture to another. And that was very, very important to her. So I kind of joked around with the kids, but probably true, that she was a plain mother by day, and by night she was much more exciting. That's when she would do her political, that's when she would do her advocacy, her interfaith. A lot of things happened after hours for her. But the funny thing about her is, as much as she was a very intelligent, bookish person, she still liked to make herself look good. She liked her lipsticks and she liked her clothing. She always liked to look pretty and liked to go out with her husband and enjoy their times together. And one of the funniest things that I heard, little anecdotes, I know I'm just kind of jumping around here, is that a lady who loved books and was so organized like she was, what was she like in the bookstore? And her kids said that it was kind of funny. As much as she was surrounded by all these books that she potentially could read and enjoy, she knew exactly what she wanted. She walked in the bookstore, already had prepared from the New York Times book review what books she wanted. She pulled them out of the shelf, she sat down, and she wait for the kids to make their selections. She already knew which mysteries and whatever she would like the most. So things for her were easier. She got a chance to retire. She didn't have to work as much in the end. She took good care of her husband. And then her dear husband, Alan, passed away November 28th, 2012. And she tried her best to live independently at that time, but it wasn't too easy. And I think a huge kudos goes to Evelyn, who really made it possible for Mom to have this life, to feel independent. And, you made her feel independent by sleeping over all those nights. A few times a week you slept over, you did her grocery shopping. You made her feel like you were helping her, but you were not doing it for her. And I know that was a great, great gift to her, to have her independence for those few more years. And the thing about her is that, a lot of hard things happened. And by 2016, she came to the nursing home. She came to Montefiore. But the way that she was a flexible person. She didn't complain. She didn't get angry or resentful. She just made it work. And she just adjusted. And her son said, she was never a person who could eat a breakfast. She was too busy. It wasn't in her, DNA to have breakfast. But suddenly he came one day to visit her in Montefiore, and there she was, eating this hearty, beautiful breakfast and enjoying it, with a good appetite. And it just shows you how much, even if you're older, you can change, you can adjust, you can adapt to any circumstances and not complain about it. She even said that she liked the food most of the time, and she liked the Shabbat meals that we served there as well. So in conclusion, again, we think of her as a very kind, giving person. A beautiful mother, beautiful aunt, beautiful friend, and wife. And it just goes to show you that on the surface you can be so simple. You can look like a simple mother, a simple aunt, or whatever, but there's so much going on below the surface. Her caring for her children, her caring for human beings, her interfaith work, her political work, all the good things that she did for the Jewish community, will not go missed. And just because she was a quieter person, it didn't mean that we didn't hear the voice inside of her and how strong her heart was and how much she cared about all of us today. So in just a few minutes, we're going to be reciting the memorial prayer, which is a prayer which talks about how we wish that we could take care of her more. We wish we could watch over her more. But now she's with God, and she's in heaven, and God is the one who is taking beautiful care of her. So we'll read that prayer in a short while, and then we'll have the Kaddish. We'll say the Kaddish prayer here in the chapel. And one of the things I just wanted to mention is that her kids, being like her kids, are very concerned that no one's health is in jeopardy because of the weather. It's one of the coldest days that we've had in a long time. And in Jewish tradition, it's important to go to the cemetery. It's important to be involved physically in the burial as much as we can. You put the shovel of earth in the ground. That's a big mitzvah in of itself. But no one should feel that being in the cemetery should compromise their health or should feel like it's too difficult to do. So if people can't make it to the cemetery, that's fine. It's no problem. The family actually invites everyone to a gathering at Montefiore. And that'll be approximately, about 1:45, 2 o'clock in Maltzy, which is the auditorium, the chapel. As soon as you come into Montefiore, by the elevators, you make a left turn, and there'll be some food there and some gatherings. So if people just want to go directly to that after the service, that's great. But if people want to join us at the cemetery, we are going to be going to the Mount Sinai Cemetery, which is located on Som Center Road, near White, the intersection of White and Som Center, just across from the Metro Parks. Now, if you want to come to the cemetery and it's too cold, you're welcome to sit in your vehicle, and if you want to put a little dirt, you can put a little dirt. And then maybe at the very end of the service in the cemetery, we'll get out our vehicles and we'll recite the prayers together in the conclusion of the service. Okay? So at this point, I could ask everyone to please rise for the recitation of the memorial service, and then we'll stay standing, and then we'll gather the family together, and we're going to recite the Kaddish here in the chapel. And then following the Kaddish, everyone will grab their coats, get ready, and then we will have the mitzvah of honoring the deceased and escorting her out of the chapel. We'll basically call the pallbearers forward. They'll escort the casket. The family will walk behind the casket, and then behind the family, all the friends will file in, and we'll head towards the outside exit over there. El Mali Rachamim Shoichein Bamrumim Hamsei Menucha Nechaina Al Kanfi Hashchina B'Malois Kedoshim Utahirim Kezarakia Mazhirim Es Nishmas Joan Gelbman, the daughter of Evelyn and Michael, Shahalacha Loilama Mavor Shanachnu Mispalim Bahaskaras Nishmasa Began Eden Tehei Menuchasa L'chein Bal Harachamim Yastirecha Besisa Kanafav Leoilamim V'yitzor Betzor Chaim Is Nishmaso Adonai Hu Nachlaso V'Sanoach Al Mishkavo B'Shalom V'Neumar Amen. O God, full of mercy, who dwells on high, grant proper rest on the wings of the divine presence, in the lofty levels of the holy and the pure ones who shine like the glow of the firmament. For the soul of our most beloved Joan Gelbman, the daughter of Harry and Charlie, thank you. Shahalacha, that has gone into her world and for whom we pray. May her resting place be in the Garden of Eden, and may the Master of Mercy shelter her in the shelter of his wings for all eternity, and may he bind her soul in the bonds of life. God is her heritage, and may she repose in peace on her resting place. And we say together, Amen. Okay, I'm going to ask the family members, we'll just ask the children and her sister to come forward just over here, and we will say the Kaddish together.